So we had a large amount of rain last night, and it came down in buckets. So I thought today would be a good day to do a garden tour. So let's walk through the garden and see what we got growing. You can see in this bed we've got our cantaloupe, and we got some cucumbers growing here. You can see a little close up down here. You guys know what that is? That down there, you see it? That down there is ginger. So we're trying for ginger this year. I started those inside. I've got sweet potatoes intercropped here. These are some Japanese pole beans. So the hotter it gets, the better these are going to do. And you can see I need to trellis these up. Sometimes you have to get them started on the trellis, just manually. One of my strategies for mitigating the sow bug is this down here. You can see that close up. So what I'm doing down there, and it did rain last night, so it's covered up, but I actually put beer in there. Terrible waste of beer, but sow bugs love beer more than anyone. And you put that in there and they just crawl in. We've got our amaranth going on really powerfully right here, so we're about to get amaranth seed out of this. Amaranth also loves the heat. If you look down here, I don't know if you guys have ever seen this crop before, but this is actually indigo, and so this is the beginnings of our indigo sufragatosa, which is a Guatemalan indigo. And that is looking pretty good. And the great thing about sufragatosa is that it reseeds itself, and it's also a nitrogen fixer. If you look down here, I've got a couple of different varieties of cantaloupe and also pumpkin that I'm growing, and that eventually will be covering this whole area. This that you see right here that kind of looks like corn is actually broom corn, and that's a rainbow broom corn variety. Broom corn is kind of just a fun thing that we're growing out this year. Historically, you would make your brooms out of broom corn. You can see here I've got my sweet potatoes. The way that I grew my sweet potatoes here is I literally just put a couple of logs on either side, and then I filled up this with some extra compost with a little bit of sand, and then of course I covered it up with a mulch. And then the sweet potatoes are just going to town. So I wanted to give as much loose soil for those sweet potatoes as possible for them to grow up. You can see they're also being attacked a little bit, but the hotter it gets, the better these are going to do. So they'll be able to outcompete the pests at that point. And then our tomatoes are just gangbusters right now. You can see we've got Cherokee Purples coming in. We've got Brandywines coming in. We've got some San Marzanos, some cherry, some Sun Gold, and then we're intercropping those with basil. You can see I've got my eggplant down here. The eggplant is underneath the sunflowers. These are, I think they're called Maximilian sunflowers, but in any case, they're a giant sunflower that is supposed to get up to maybe even 10 feet tall. Right now, they're about 8.5 feet, which is just phenomenal to me because because this was just like dirt that I didn't till starting in January. So it's just been pretty remarkable that they have been able to establish themselves as well as they have. Down here, you can see a little mix of cantaloupe and what is called gherkin, Mexican gherkin. So the Mexican gherkin is a cucumber summer plant, small, and it is a trellising fanatic. And you can see it's like there's like a war between the cantaloupes coming up from this side and the Mexican gherkin coming down from this side, and it just creates it just kind of looks like musical notations to me, like the plants themselves are singing. And then you guys see this right here. This is actually a tomato plant that is at this point out competing all of them in that one corner. So the tomato is kind of finding its way into the orchestra. And then underneath the sunflowers, I've got a type of bush bean. So this bush bean is Mother Stollard, and it's doing pretty well. It's actually set a bunch of fruit. I'm experimenting with the bush bean. I'm not picking them green. I'm trying to keep them until they're dry. So I've got a couple that are a little bit more dry than others. You can see those down here. And so what I'll do is I'll wait for them to have a whole bunch that have been really thoroughly dried out, and then I'll take these and then I'll hang them out to dry somewhere. So, over here we've got a mix of peppers and zucchini and acorn squash. We have a variety of peppers: Mennonite stuffing peppers, Thai chili peppers, of course banana peppers, bell peppers, large and small. Over here we got our spaghetti squash, which is growing out. I've got another trellis on for the spaghetti squash, so we're getting plenty of those. They're doing really well. Here are our chickens, who get all the kind of the leftovers of everything that I harvest that isn't looking great. They'll turn that into manure, because that's what they do.